Huh? Marcus Freeman should have been at LSU. Do you remember this entire ordeal? I had this graphic ready to go for when Marcus Freeman was going to be the head football coach. I say head football coach, defensive coordinator of LSU. I mean, every single insider was believing Freeman was the guy for Ed Orgeron after the Bo Pelini year. But what happened? A late change of heart, and he decided to go be the defensive coordinator of Notre Dame. Now, there's many, and I mean many people out there that believe it was a wife who wanted to stay near the Midwest, who wanted to go to a Catholic institution. Obviously, Marcus Freeman's family is Catholic. That was a really, really, really good fit. And obviously, this ended up being the career-defining decision for Marcus Freeman as Ed Orgeron was fired. Now, would Freeman have been hired by Scott Woodward to take over the same way that Notre Dame decided to give Marcus Freeman this head coaching job? We'll never know. We will never, ever, ever know. But the timeline is truly insane. Marcus Freeman fired. Ed Orgeron fired. Marcus Freeman decides to go to Notre Dame instead of LSU. Once Freeman decides to go there, Ed Orgeron decided to go with Durante Jones. Durante Jones and the LSU Tigers, they were not that great. Obviously, Ed Orgeron is fired. Brian Kelly is then brought into LSU. Then Scott Woodward, after hiring Brian Kelly at LSU, Notre Dame really couldn't do a coaching search. The locker room loved Marcus Freeman. And because it was so late, and because the early signing period was around the corner, Notre Dame decided to make the bold decision to go with an unproven asset as a head coach. And Marcus Freeman, in only a couple of seasons, has Notre Dame in the college football playoff. But not only did Marcus Freeman do this, he stole LSU's Broyles finalists offensive coordinator in Mike Denbrock. Now, what does all of this mean? Nothing. It really doesn't mean anything. Or does it? It all comes down to if Brian Kelly can get this team to the college football playoff. Because I'll tell you this, I've been able to make Notre Dame fans for many a years. I like Notre Dame. I've had friends that went to Notre Dame. And what have they told us nonstop? Brian Kelly was the issue. We need to get him out. We just needed somebody else in. And they have said for years now, Marcus Freeman is a guy. And is Marcus Freeman lucky? Yeah, he's lucky that there has been some favorable schedules thrown Notre Dame's way. But the truth is, Notre Dame fans are feeling very good about themselves as they just beat Georgia in a postseason game, something we couldn't do. Obviously, that was a few years ago versus a better Georgia team. Also, Marcus Freeman beat USC. We couldn't beat USC this year. He did it in USC. We couldn't do it. Did we play a better version of USC than Notre Dame did? Maybe so. I don't know. But the truth is, hopefully, this makes Brian Kelly work that much harder because he doesn't want this to turn around and become a situation where he's not making playoffs and Marcus Freeman is. LSU's a better job, albeit in the tougher conference. But, man, what Marcus Freeman did today was impressive. And what made it really impressive was as you watched this Sugar Bowl, you would think the main reason that Notre Dame would win this Sugar Bowl is because of Gunnar Stockton. And Gunnar Stockton had some costly mistakes. But I am not sure if Notre Dame isn't winning this game today, even if Carson Beck was in there. That's how good Marcus Freeman coached this game. He outcoached Kirby Smart today. Now, does Marcus Freeman have a really good staff? Yeah. you can make a strong case that Al Golden and Mike Denbrock are the best pair of coordinators in all of college football right now. Actually, I would say that. I think Al Golden's the best coordinator, period. Maybe you can make a case for Chip Kelly, but he has Jeremiah Smith. Al Golden is ridiculous. But the bottom line is this. Notre Dame's in the college football playoff, and we aren't. And we have got to get to that level. We do. It's LSU that plays postseason playoff games in New Orleans, not Notre Dame. So we'll see. But Marcus Freeman deserves a lot of credit for what he's done. Now, do I still believe in Brian Kelly? I do, because Brian Kelly fixed a lot of the offseason problems that we had last year, which was the transfer portal. Brian Kelly selflessly put $1 million up for the NIL. We got a match. We've gotten more donors. Bayou Traditions, it's absolutely kicking it right now. But college football is a lot to do about luck. Marcus Freeman's very lucky that he picked Notre Dame over LSU. And the rest is pretty much history. Now, we are 3 years into the Brian Kelly era, and we don't have any playoff appearances. That's not what any of you would have signed up for, even in the first year of this 12-team playoff. Now, we would have liked a Heisman Trophy, yeah, and we got that. We would have liked an SEC championship game appearance, yeah, we got that. But now next year, I'm taking a look at the poll question now. Is this a put up or shut up year for LSU? 59% of you say yes, that Brian Kelly must make the college football playoff for him to keep his job. So, look, Brian Kelly is still a great coach. He is still a college football playoff coach. But you want him to feel this pressure, because that's going to make him work that much harder. If you're really about that life, you're willing to go that extra mile. Booster 6969 says Notre Dame plays 10 cupcakes every year. They just have to be one good team in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I'd be the first to tell you that Notre Dame got a very favorable run-up. You know, their schedule really wasn't all that great. What Brian Kelly and LSU had to go through is way more difficult. But y'all, they beat Georgia in a playoff game. Well, they didn't have Carson Beck. You know, I mean, Riley Leonard threw for 88 yards today, and they still won by 2 possessions. All right. Their special teams was elite today. They were the better team. I think Notre Dame wins this game even if Carson Beck plays. That's how good they played today. Now, we know Indiana was overrated. I think even Notre Dame fans would say that. But the truth is, Brian Kelly has got to make a playoff next year. He just does. Now, is it do or die in terms of if he doesn't make the playoff next year, he's gone? I don't think I could go that far. But, man, with all the portal additions that we've made and all the great players we return, I do think it's something. I do. Okay? If he's a CFP coach, why aren't we in the CFP? I mean, I think for me, and this was my opinion when the 12-team playoff was made. LSU is not Georgia. LSU is not Ohio State. Okay? Those 2 schools in particular should be in the playoff every single year. They have huge advantages over every other school. They should make the playoff every year. I think it is fair, if you are an LSU fan, to expect this team to make the playoff 1 out of every 2 years. I think that's fair. I wouldn't put, you guys know, I try to be as level-headed of an LSU fan as I possibly can. Okay? go to my Toronto. Am I doing a film study on the bowl game? Yes, it'll probably air Sunday night. It is tough, though, because a film study on a bowl game where the roster is going to look completely different is a lot different, okay? Type Y for yes, type in for no if you can hear me loud and clear. Joshua says Carson Beck would have made it a completely different game. I mean, maybe, but does that change the special team errors that Georgia made today? Does it change the defensive errors that Georgia made today? Like they had never seen a QB run game before in their life? I just don't know how much it changes. Also, Georgia's skill position guys, I've said it all year. I said it when I watched their spring game. I said they do not have enough wide receiver firepower. They are a team full of number 2 and number 3 options when you need a number 1. Okay? Brock Bowers leaving was a bigger deal. Ladd McConkey leaving was a bigger deal. Okay? You put Cam Coleman on Georgia, you're probably winning that game. But they did not have a true number 1 alpha talent. Okay? It's just that simple. All right? Now, I understand, before we get to Grant's question here, this is not comfortable. This is not comfortable. Right? But whether you want to say Carson Beck was in or out or whatever, Marcus, I mean, he just outcoached Kirby Smart. I mean, that's what happened. That's what we all just witnessed. I mean, that special teams maneuver, that's what Kirby does to other people. Now, did Notre Dame get away with the false start? Yeah, they did. But it was the idea. You guys know how anti-punt I am. I hate punting. I think coaches punt way too much. If you were to come to me and say, hey, Carter, who do you want to lead your team today? Would you want Dan Lanning or Marcus Freeman? I'm taking Marcus Freeman because I've seen Marcus Freeman in bowl games make terrible punts. His first game ever versus Oklahoma State, he had a really, really, really bad punt decision. He learned his lesson. Don't be a freaking coward. I don't know if Notre Dame was going to run a play on that 4th and 1 backed up in their own territory. I don't know. But I am a big believer in trying to draw a team off sides. Take the 5-yard penalty if you can't get it. Okay? So let's go to Sam. He says $10 million or not, you can't turn Dollar Tree into Walmart in 1 year. Here's a problem with that, Sam. Is that, do you believe, I'm looking at you, Sam, and Sam, you know I respect the heck out of you. Is LSU the Dollar Tree in this metaphor? I don't know if I don't think anyone considers LSU a Dollar Tree program. Right now, if you want to say LSU can take, I don't know, a Winn-Dixie into Walmart, and maybe that's a little bit bad. I don't know. I was just thinking of some restaurant, and I love Winn-Dixie, by the way. So yeah, you know, I can't tell you how impressed I was with Marcus Freeman today, though, and I know it's not just him. Mike Denbrock called one hell of a football game, and Al Golden called probably the defensive game of the year. But I was just really, really, really impressed with Notre Dame today. Now, am I liking the fact that in the modern college football game, you can lose to Northern Illinois and still comfortably make the playoff? No, I don't like that. But that's part of the 12-team playoff. And we can make even a stronger case, as much as we want to make fun of Marcus Freeman losing to Marshall. Well, Marshall kind of turned out to be a good program, right? Their coach, Charles Huff, just won the Sun Belt. Their safety was our best safety last year. I mean, look, maybe that loss isn't as bad. It was a second or third game as a coach. Then they lost to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois ended up winning a bowl game. They ended up being a good team. And I can even make a case that when you lose to Northern Illinois, the second consecutive year you lose to a Rent-A-Win team, the fact that you're able to turn this bitch around and make it a college football playoff team, it's crazy. That's a sign of good coaching, if you ask me. So, look, I don't think Brian Kelly has done an atrocious job coaching this team. Obviously, I'm still pro Brian Kelly. I'm just sharing with you that I think a lot of us would have expected one playoff appearance in the first 3 seasons. BT says Notre Dame's offensive line is freakish. Yeah, they're just I don't know if I would, they had some hurt players too. I don't know. Like, I know when Notre Dame's running backs are healthy, they are really, really, really good. Ryan Leonard's a good quarterback. Their receivers are okay. Their offensive line, of course, is very good. Defensive line's good. Back seven is spectacular. They're just good, though. Like, I don't know if I would consider this, like, I think if I were to rank the rosters in this Final Four, I would probably say Notre Dame's fourth of the Final Four. So if Freeman wins a natty, then this guy is crazy. Oh, you're referring to the defense. I got you. That's fine. Carver thinks Georgia abandoned the run. I don't know. I think I don't know. I'd have to go rewatch every single play again. But it seemed to me that they were playing so downhill versus a run and they just couldn't block it. Does Georgia? I'm wondering if Georgia wins this game if they had last year's Ola. I don't know. But that was the worst their offensive line played all season. And some of that's on Gunnar Stockton, let's be honest. The strip sack gave them their first touchdown. And that was entirely on, well, I'm not going to say entirely, about 50% on Gunnar Stockton. Okay. Mm. Let's see. Kirby Smart. I want to play this a little bit later, him talking about the other teams. Notre Dame would get blown out by OSU right now. Yeah. But here's the problem with OSU. With everyone talking about Ohio State and all of that. Why wasn't this here all year? Yeah. At this point, Eric, I would probably pick Texas to win this game, even though Ohio State is the better team. Now, sportsbooks are all over the place here. Some sportsbooks have Texas as a favorite. Circa opened with Ohio State as a 6-point favorite. Let's see. I don't, as much as I've talked about Freeman to start, I don't think it necessarily makes LSU look bad, right? In reality, on the surface, it does. But I, I think, more context is required here. The first, obviously, is Notre Dame's lead up is just a lot easier than what they would have to play in the SEC. What Notre Dame's strength of schedule was 44, and Georgia's was 1. So we'll see. Yeah, Samuel. Eventually, they're gonna fall apart. Now, I want to move on to LSU related stuff. They did get a commitment today from a 2026 defensive end. Okay. Now, why am I not jumping for joy? Well, go on. I mean, it's the current day and age. I understand that guys and gals decommit all the time, and that's been happening for years now. It's just not that big of a deal to me that a 2026 end committed. Now, quarterback, it's a little bit different because those guys commit earlier, and you only bring in basically one quarterback a class. But it's just one of those things where I don't want to give it too much oxygen. Something else that's going to be interesting about our defensive end recruiting is a lot of the ends that we have brought in are haven't really done a whole lot. Now I understand that we played Braden Swinson and Savion Jones at a high volume of snaps. They played over 75% of snaps, each of them, this season for us. It's a lot. It's a lot of snaps. So I think Kevin Peoples would have preferred to keep a heavier rotation than what we actually had this year. But a lot of our young ends just have not done anything. Even some of the ones that have transferred to other schools, they've not done anything really at other schools. Lena Jackson did, but that's many a moons ago. But it is something of note. But I am excited about Damian Shaklin in particular, so we'll see what happens. Eric, is this you in the photo? Let me know. Cars, that would be the most insane redemption story. They can beat them, though. I mean, like, you would like to think, though, all the absolute freaks that Penn State has put into the NFL during the James Franklin era, you would have thought that they would have made a playoff or even a Big Ten championship game, and they finally made one this year. But, you just haven't. And we still don't know if Penn State's that good. I mean, if you actually sit and watch that Boise State game, man, I don't really know. Like if 31-14 was a justified score. Now they did jump out at them, but they got lucky. They really, really, really did. Okay. My Discord is linked down below. You got to join the Patreon though. It's only a little bit a month, and you get all my extra film studies, and you get a Joe Burrow card in the mail. You want to join our Discord though. I'm just saying it's really good. Lots of good chatter, fun stuff. Some little we post some gambling plays. My guy Mill drops charts in there. It's pretty fun. Okay. Crazy. It's interesting. In the first year of the playoff, all four of the teams with byes lost, which is crazy to me. It is kind of crazy when you think about it. So think about it this way. Okay, Ohio State really got screwed. Oregon really got screwed. What's really fascinating though is I kind of want to give this a little bit more thought. Okay. I want to share one thing about the current playoff format that I think needs to change. But first, book your 360 spin booth experience today with Zion Imaging. Yes, that's my buddy Jaron Thomas who started this venture years ago. And look at the smiles on these faces. This state-of-the-art photo booth is so incredible. I work in the wedding and event industry, and anytime I see a 360 photo booth, it takes your event, whether it's a reunion, a wedding, a conference, no matter what it is, it takes it to another level. Give them a follow on Facebook. Book them today. There is a special deal going on now where you can get up to 40% off. This is all the info. Give them a call today, 318-469-4265, or go to Zion Imaging. That's XYAN Imaging.com. All right. So shout out NOPOD, shout out nooffseason.com. So a few things happen. Now, once again, we're dealing with small sample size. So we only have one playoff to go off of, right? First thing. This was a bad, capital B, bad year for conference championship games. Bad year for conference championship games. So let's go through what happened in the conference championship games. Arizona State, they get the bye. They won versus Iowa State. They made it into the playoff. Obviously have multiple losses. For the record, I'm happy. I think every conference deserves to have a team in, and I do believe in the group of five thing, okay? I do think they need to reseed it, though. Boise State should have been an 11 or 12 or whatever seed. But Clemson defeats SMU. Clemson makes the playoff, plays a semi-competitive game versus Texas, and SMU loses. And I guarantee you the playoff wanted to put Alabama in over SMU. Okay? They didn't do it. The main reason they didn't do it is because they wanted to preserve conference championships. That really is the only thing. SMU had 2 losses. Alabama had 3 losses. Alabama wasn't that good. I didn't think Alabama should have even been close. Okay? If you get beat by that bad Oklahoma team 24-3, you did not deserve anywhere close to a playoff. All right? So, still, SMU gets into the playoff. I don't think Alabama would have been waxed as bad by Penn State as SMU did. All right, what about the other conference championship games? Oregon won their conference championship game, which cost them potentially a first-round playoff game at home. And what were they rewarded? They were going to play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee, both their top 15 recruiters. Ohio State likely was going to win that matchup, so they had to beat arguably the most talented team in the field in the second round. Ohio State didn't even make the conference championship game. Ended up working out better for them. Georgia, they win the SEC championship. But at what cost? Carson Beck gets hurt. Your quarterback gets hurt in the conference championship game. And once again, I'm not sure if Georgia wins today if Carson Beck's at quarterback, but I'm telling you, they would have preferred him to be there than not. Lane Kiffin's already floated the idea out there, and he didn't really get a whole lot of pushback. He got some, but conference championship games are about to get load managed. I'm telling you right now. It wasn't worth it for Georgia. Not a damn soul that likes Georgia football gives a damn that they won the conference championship versus Texas. They are going to forget about that in an instant. Bad day for conference championship games. All right. Second thing is the home game advantage is so big in the first round. Now, Carvis is in here. Jared is in here. A lot of you remembered when this 12-team playoff came out. I banged the freaking table saying that the seed that you want is a 5, 6, 7, or 8 seed, right? You want to be there to host a first-round playoff game. You were a part of college football history. Some of the first games ever being a home college football playoff game. The second thing that happened was, yes, the college football playoff got a good chunk of the ticket revenue, whatever, but you got a huge economic boost for the towns that you're in with all these teams getting to host playoff games. And number third, you don't have to deal with the rust factor, having to sit out for so long. So those home teams got very favorable matchups, and they were able to load manage it a little bit. All right, they didn't really have to expend a whole lot of energy. Now, Texas kind of sort of did, as did Ohio State going up against a talented Tennessee team. They showed some fight. But, man, 12-team playoffs crazy, y'all. Absolutely, positively crazy. Where do you think FSU is seated in the 12-team playoff? They're probably still getting the 5 if that happens. But I say all of this because let me ask you this. And I understand this is going to be a tough thing conceptually. But how many of these teams have you watched during the playoff, this 12-team playoff? How many of you have you seen compared to playoffs in the past and the quality of teams in? Do you believe the quality of the teams in this 12-team playoff is lower than the quality of the teams that have made the playoffs in the past few years? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Of course, you have some Cincinnati's. Obviously, that Michigan State team wasn't all that great. And obviously, Nick Saban isn't here anymore. But the truth is, I think the quality of teams have gone up. Kidding. They've gone down. They've gone down. And I think any of the 4 teams that made the playoff the year that LSU won it all in 2019, I think all 4 of those teams are winning the Natty this year. I think the Georgia team that LSU beat would probably have won the Natty this year. I think the Alabama team that LSU beat that year, would have won the Natty this year. So what does that mean? Well, could it be just this one year? I don't think so. I think it'll be more of this. And the reason why that's a good thing is while we praise Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, and while we want Brian Kelly to get to this level, the playoff level is not that far of a stretch to make. Like, it's harder to get through the SEC than to get to the level of being a college football playoff team, in my estimation. Okay? So I think we watch these teams. I'm like, well, are they really that much better than LSU? Not really. Not really. I mean, I don't think this year we were that good of a team. But with what we have coming back, if you would have included a few more transfers to this year's team, I mean, we have a better shot at making the playoff. We do. Okay? We just do. You add one or two extra defensive transfers, LSU's probably a better team. They're probably one win better than what they were this year. Let's just say Mansour Delane and, I don't know, Jack Pyburn was on this defense. Pyburn probably doesn't change a whole lot because our defensive end play was mostly good, but we're probably still a lot better team. I think LSU has a shot to get there next year. And once again, the offensive line has a lot of holes and will need to be filled. Safety needs to get better. Coaching needs to be better. Brian Kelly, we need a better defense versus mobile quarterbacks. Why has this consistently been a problem? This has been a problem with two different defensive coordinators. What's the common denominator? So our coaching needs to get better. So, look, some of this is on the players. Garrett can't throw those back-breaking INTs. But turning this around in 1 year probably isn't as hard as we think it is, especially with all the transfers we are bringing in. Now, we need to be ready. Some of these transfers are not going to hit. It's just how it is. Okay? One final thing before we get into a few more LSU-specific things. Alabama looks bad in their bowl game. South Carolina didn't look their best in their bowl game, even though Illinois, of course, was a decent Big Ten team. Now, Duke is not as good as the teams at South Carolina and Alabama played, right? Michigan, of course, is good. They just beat Ohio State. And then South Carolina, of course, is good. They just beat Clemson. Or Illinois. Illinois played Penn State very close this year. With all of that said, Ole Miss is blowing the brakes off of Duke right now. And they had a laughable INT right before we started on a fake field goal or whatever the hell that was. The best team in the SEC was Ole Miss this year. Tonight, more than likely, will end the Ole Miss season with every single team that they play. They have beaten by double digits. Every single one of them. Do you know how hard that is to do? It's really hard to do. And they lost 3 really close games. Now, losing to Kentucky should never happen. And I'm not mad that they did not get in the field. But my eyes did not deceive me. They were one of the 12 best teams. And Kirk Herbstreit would look a whole lot smarter if he had just listened to us. Because Kirk Herbstreit kept trashing Indiana, and he said, well, they shouldn't have gotten in, and everyone was assumed he was talking about Alabama. People just listen to Power Hour SEC and Power Hour LSU. I would have told you that Ole Miss definitely was one of the 12 best teams in college football this year. Okay? They shouldn't have choked versus Kentucky. They shouldn't have choked versus us. And, they ran into the swamp when DJ Lagway started catching his stride. Does Florida beat Texas with DJ Lagway? Does Georgia beat Texas? Does Georgia beat Florida with DJ Lagway? I don't know. So Ole Miss got unlucky. They were the best team in the SEC this year, and we beat them. How did we get? Now, did we have some good things go our way for us to beat them? Yeah, but we still beat them. Trust me, we have what it takes. Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do. Next 10 to 15, we're going to answer as many as we possibly can. If you super, we'll keep it going. Let's go to here. Carter, what are your thoughts? Oh, yeah, I touched on this a little bit earlier. This is from Chris. My thoughts on the defensive end that committed earlier. Let's go. I'm excited, but he's 2026. It's just so far away. It more like, do a lot of kids decommit? Yeah, I mean, on average, we lose a defensive end per recruiting class. 2 years ago was Joshua Mickens. This last year was Jesse Harold. So I hope he stays. But it's just I don't want to get people excited. I'm going to try my best to keep my recruiting breakdowns down, even though they do really well. It's just tough. One thing, kind of a side topic. Brian Thomas Jr. got jobbed today. Holy crap, he got jobbed for the Pro Bowl. So this year, the NFC wide receivers were like way more stacked. So it was hard for Malik Neighbors to make it. But holy crap, BTJ got shafted. So Jamar Chase should have been in over Brian Thomas Jr. Nico Collins probably should be in over BTJ. But Zay Flowers and Jerry Jeudy over Brian Thomas Jr.? Jerry Jeudy had a few cartoonish games because he was playing with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston makes a lot of wide receivers look good because he throws the football a lot with reckless abandon. Brian Thomas Jr. with overrated Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones put up Randy Moss rookie numbers. BTJ got freaking hosed. Okay. Shout out to the LSU women's team. They're playing right now. I'll put them on my other screen right here. But BTJ, bro, what the hell? That really pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, what? Zay Flowers? Did anyone watch Zay Flowers this year and say, you know what? You know what made the Baltimore offense great? It wasn't Lamar Jackson. It wasn't Derrick Henry. It's Zay Flowers. When Brian Thomas Jr. carried the Jaguars, Etienne disappointment, Trevor Lawrence disappointment, Christian Kirkert of the BTJ dude put the team on his back. And the funny thing about it was they missed him a lot. Hmm. I'm not sure, though. I'm not sure if I can get to the point, though, where every single team, like, I'm just not ready to go, you know what, SEC overrated. I'm just not ready to do that this year because I don't know. I just think if anything, it's better that the bottom half teams just all looked a lot better than what they did the year before. South Carolina got better. Arkansas got better. Vanderbilt got better. There's not many teams that just got worse. Yeah, Daniil Hunter also had a rough go at it, but the AFC is just stacked with pass rushers. You got Max Crosby, TJ Watt, and Myles Garrett. He's just not as big of a name as those guys. And he also has Will Anderson on his own team. But should he have gotten in? Probably. Now, who are they going to take off? I don't know. Oh, damn. 65-30? There's Jersey Wolfberger playing her old team. Yeah, Mississippi State got worse too. But they had a new coach. So, I will take a few more. I'm going to watch up on the women's game in the background. I'm sure the Notre Dame fans are going to react normally. Let's go, Michaela. Let's go, Michaela Williams. PHL legend. Julie. Julie thinks I offended her in the Discord. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So, yeah, in the Discord, I'll share it here, even though, she said there was a lot of discussion of, like, during the Georgia game, how well Notre Dame was prepared for that game. I think Notre Dame is just getting away with a lot. And one thing I think that's unfair, and this needs to be confirmed by someone that knows more about this than me. So, first off, Notre Dame just has an easier life as an independent than they do being in a conference. So I'll show you Notre Dame's schedule this year. And, one kind of misleading thing about Notre Dame's schedule is they have a lot of these teams on here that have good brand names, good brand equity, but their teams haven't been as good over time as others, right? So these are teams that Notre Dame plays every year that occasionally have good teams, but when they bottom out hard. Okay, beating Texas A&M season opener at Kyle Field, very impressive. All right, but you take a look at some of these other teams. Purdue is occasionally a good team. This year, Louisville was a good team. They beat them. But you see a lot of these teams that you look at their helmet and you're like, okay, they've been good, but they're not good anymore. Right? A decade ago, playing Stanford every year was a bitch. Just last year, playing Florida State every year, it's hard. Playing USC every year. Over the past decade, not as hard as you would think. Playing Florida State every year. Over the past decade, not as hard as you would think. Now, obviously, these two Jordan Travis years under Norvell have been good. So Notre Dame, as an independent, they've gotten lucky that a lot of the teams that they played this year were down. Now, we also played USC, and Notre Dame was able to beat them. But the difference here, and this is a good point, and I'm glad Julie brought this up. The difference is when an SEC team makes a college football playoff, $14 million goes to the conference. When Notre Dame makes the playoff and they make it this far in the playoff, I just saw this. I don't know if it's true or not. They get the full $14 million. They don't have to spread this with the other conferences or with the other teams in their conference because they're not in a conference. Now, Bang Hammer says LSU played one good team all year in Ole Miss. It's just not true. It's just not true. All right. So let's pull up Notre Dame's schedule again. Okay. We also played Texas A&M. We lost to Texas A&M. Marcus Freeman beat Texas A&M in College Station. But What I would point out is obviously that's an out-of-conference game that they scheduled, and give them a lot of credit for scheduling a difficult game. But South Carolina was probably, the third best team LSU played this year? South Carolina is better than any team on the schedule. I will say this until I'm blue in the face. We overrate schedule strength in terms of team quality and in terms of it mattering. Right? Because strength of schedule, I like to include this in my analysis. Like, I would have Florida close to my top 15 in my final rankings if we calibrated for schedule strength. But it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. Schedule strength. Because college football teams and fans only care about wins and losses. That's it. Never is it actually discussed. Well, it is discussed, but it falls on deaf ears who you play. Well, no, here's my thing. I don't mind scheduling a home and home for Clemson. It's good for the sport. It really is. Okay. The problem is you're doing this in a season opener. Okay. Now I understand. Well, Notre Dame played Texas A&M in a season opener, and well, they were able to win, and it's a good point. We should be able to win. It's just I don't like playing difficult season openers. I just don't, for a few reasons. The first is I think if you win your season opening game versus a really strong team, it can be a tricky follow-up week. It really can be. All right. So let's take Florida State a few years back. They played Notre Dame in a difficult season opener. It was against Brian Kelly. They probably should have won that game. And then the next week they lost to Jacksonville State. Well, look what happened to Notre Dame this year. They beat Texas A&M, who wasn't playing their better quarterback. And the next week, they lost to Northern Illinois. I just think playing a difficult season opener is tough because you literally know nothing about your team. If you play a week one game, at least you get to see something, right? You get to see who's actually good or not good. You honestly can't tell these things in practice. You just can't. Coaches get crap wrong all the time by evaluating practices. They just do. All right. If anything, playing a difficult season opener really doesn't say a whole lot about either team. I think beating a good team in week 2 is more impressive than beating a good team in week 1. Let me ask you this. Does Notre Dame beat Texas A&M if Marcel Reed is their starting quarterback? Probably so. I mean, they're a better team, but it's different, right? We turned out Connor Wigman wasn't really that good outside of one random game versus Missouri. And I thought Connor Wigman was going to be the she's knit. Exactly. No, I mean, nobody cares. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for me. fun show. It is still crazy, though, to me that this decision, it is amazing. This decision by Marcus Freeman was a career-changing decision, choosing Notre Dame over LSU. I mean, this was out there. I didn't have this graphic made. I found this graphic, and there's people erroneously reporting that Marcus Freeman was going to LSU. I won't say who those people were, but he picked Notre Dame. Marcel Reed isn't good either. I wouldn't say he's bad. I would say he's good. I don't think he's great. Yes, I'll try to get it done by Sunday night. No, TJ, make your opinion known, man. I think I'm not going to say he has the hottest seat, but I do think he's under the most pressure out of any coach in the SEC. I mean, obviously, DeBoer. I've tried to tell y'all, Ole Miss, man, dude, this bowl win for their fan base is just going to troll them even harder. Yeah, I don't know, JP. I really don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, that changes some, but man, they put clamps down on the Georgia receivers, and the Georgia receivers dropped. I mean, that was always going to be a thing with Georgia. And even if Beck would have been around, I just don't know if I would have picked him to win the playoff. Oh, oh no, Jeremiah Smith. Dude, this is the kiss of death. I'm telling you right now, you need to go bet Texas. Okay? You need to go bet Texas right now. I've seen this happen so many times. Okay? Someone else did it, but Jeremiah Smith did retweet this. Okay? God, dude, this is don't ever if you're an athlete, I'm about to give you the best advice in the world. Don't ever recreate this picture until you actually win the title. Okay. Oh God. He tweeted this out, or he retweeted it. Don't ever do this Kobe pose. Man, don't ever do it. Don't do it. Don't acknowledge it. Don't retweet it. I'm telling you, every time I've seen an athlete recreate this photo, they lose the next round. It is a freaking given. Go bet the hell out of Texas. I'm telling you right the frick now. Go do it. You don't want to do it. You are losing. You are losing next round, Ohio State. Whoever did that, whoever tweeted that, of course, Jeremiah Smith's going to think it's cool. He's not going to know that Illinois player, there's an Illinois basketball player that did that after beating, ironically, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. He got the Big Ten championship trophy, recreated the photo. Longhorns, baby. They're going to hook them. They're going to hook. Don't ever do that. Man, Parker Jones, the Georgia walk-on, I'm guessing he's walk-on, who tripped that referee and got Georgia a penalty. Learn Sigma Chi, buddy. You will be playing flag football intramurals next year. Parker Jones could go tonight and go speeding 100 in a 45 MPH zone, and Kirby will actually kick you off now. Congrats to Derek Stingley. First Pro Bowl for him. Good stuff for you, Sting. Is it juiced?
It should be. Is it? Hundo, what are we at?
85.
Oh, you got to start juicing it during the day, bub. Please, thank you. Talking fresh. What?
I knew Sylvia was coming in hot. They tell me that Bevo was taken to the doctor for horrible back pain for carrying the SEC in their first year in the conference. I love it. All right, y'all. That'll do it for me. Great show tonight. Let's see. We got one super as we have Venmo. Friend of the channel, Julie. It's all good. And we will see you on Sunday. Now, friendly reminder, next PHO get together Saturday, January 11th at Broadmoor Methodist Church, 3715 Uri Drive, 10 a.m. until 4. We will see you there. Okay. It is Power Hour LSU. Oh. All right. Osbury did have a big play today. Tonight, we are doing Rotolo's Calzone.